Hey guys, it's Rose, and today I wanted to talk about something that has come up in conversation with me a little bit since I started doing these videos. I've wanted to talk about how you can do some reading without necessarily buying every single book that you want to read, but more importantly, why you shouldn't necessarily feel guilty about not buying everything brand new. Obviously, we want to support the book industry. I am not suggesting, even for a second, that you should stop buying all your books new because that would be ridiculous. However, I think that there is a bit of a balance between the things that you buy new and the other ways that you can read. So first and most important one for me is the library. You've probably noticed that a lot of the books that I read, that I have in TBRs and wrap-ups, and reviews come from the library, either from the library sale shelves, where they sell off copies that they don't want to keep for incredibly wonderfully cheap amounts, or just from the standard loaning lending library, which is obviously free. Now obviously when you get a library book, because it's free, you don't have money of yours that is going to anyone in particular. However, that doesn't mean that you are not getting money to anyone who needs it. The thing that a lot of people don't realize is that even though libraries are government funded, the government doesn't just have a set amount of money that they go, this goes to libraries all the time, no matter what. Instead, obviously, every so often they have to rework out their budget and they decide how much money goes to specific public services, which include libraries. And one of the things that they look at when they're making those budgeting decisions is how much the library is used. So essentially, if you have a library where no one is ever in there, it's going to get its funding cut. If you have a library that is being used all the time, then it's going to get its funding increase. While obviously I enjoy the fact that library books are free, I do still have the money to buy books. I still do buy books. And I think it's important to recognize that if you have the money to go out and buy books, that you are extremely privileged. We have the money to indulge in this pastime that we love, and I think it's important to recognize that not everyone does have that money. Or it's just money that they don't really want to prioritize for books, because unless you love books passionately, if you have very little money, they're not going to be at the top of your list, or even near it. So for those people, having access to a really good, well-funded, well-stocked public library is really, really important, which is why I think that we should all be using it on a regular basis. It's not just for us. It's not just about supporting authors buying books new. It's about supporting people who can't afford to buy the books new by supporting your library. I think that reading is something that everyone should have access to. I think it's incredible. I think it expands your horizon. I think that it raises your awareness of other people, other people's situations, increases empathy, increases compassion. It's generally a way to make your life better, and everyone should have access to books. So that's my number one. That is the place that I always go. I go at least once a month to my library. I make sure that I'm always taking out books, that I'm buying the library sale shelves books. Of course, libraries are not the only place that you can get books for free or for cheap, and they're not the only place that deserves a little bit of support as well. Next up on my list is secondhand bookstores. And this is very similar to library book sales, except that your cheap secondhand books, instead of having the money go to the library and to making sure that the library is well funded, your books go to, obviously, the bookstore owner. And so this kind of breaks down into two things. One side of it is that supporting small businesses and local businesses is a really good thing to do. Also, there's a level of selfish pleasure to this one. I adore looking through bookstores. It's just a really enjoyable experience for me, and as much as I enjoy going to the big shiny big box bookstores as well, there is a certain charm to the secondhand ones. The other reason to support them is actually more to do with not wasting. Very few people are going to keep every book that they have ever owned for their entire life. It would be amazing if everyone could have giant libraries like Beauty and the Beast with rolling ladders and staircases up them and shelves that stretch 3 freaking stories in the air. That would be awesome. This is my dream. But this is not really the norm, and it's not going to be the norm. So as long as people keep reading, people will be getting rid of books. But if you don't have secondhand bookstores, if no one ever buys books secondhand, then what are you going to do with the ones that you can't keep anymore? Yes, you can do a yard sale or you can go to the thrift store, but it's not going to help the local economy. It's not going to keep those romantic, adorable secondhand bookstores alive if you don't take your books from them, and therefore if you don't buy books from them as well. The worst thing for me, worse than supporting an author a little bit less, would be to see amazing books, or even kind of crappy books, end up landfilled because people are tossing them out because no one's supporting buying secondhand books. If you are a person that refuses to buy any books secondhand because you want to support all the authors, then you're not really supporting the planet that you live on necessarily. The final thing that I wanted to talk about was how all of this relates to the books that you do choose to buy new, because like I said at the beginning, I am not suggesting that you do not buy any books brand new. What you want is to find a balance, and if you have secondhand books and library books, then this wonderful thing starts to happen, and that thing is targeted support for authors. Right now, if I include my secondhand books and my library books and the books that I buy new, I am picking up, not reading, but bringing into the house, probably about 25 books a month. If I were to purchase all of those books new, given that books usually average out at around about the $20 mark, that's like my rent. I wish I did, but I do not have hundreds of dollars every month to spend on books. So targeted support is about making sure that the money that you have to spend on books really goes to authors that you want to support, which is kind of how I feel. I tend to want to buy the books full price that I know I'm going to love and want to keep, and that I know I want to support the author on, which isn't just about going, yeah, you write good books, I want to support you, but also things like, oh, well, you know, I wanted to read this book because I want to have a discussion about it because I've heard that it's terribly homophobic or racist or something, but I don't want to give that author money because if they are racist or homophobic or whatever, then I don't want to support that. But I don't want to be the stupid person standing in a group going, yeah, I heard that was really bad, but I didn't actually do the own research myself, and I didn't actually use my own brain, and I didn't actually read the book, and I'm just going to go along with what everyone else says. So libraries and secondhand stores and ways of buying books without giving money to the author can actually be an intentional choice as well, which is something that people don't always think of. And then I'll also know that my bookshelves are something that I can be proud of, because the secondhand books that I don't like, I can give back to the secondhand bookstore. And the ones that I do like, I can keep along with all the ones that I buy new. And this is why I don't think that you have to buy every book new, or that you have to feel guilty if you aren't buying your books new. I think you can still find a balance between supporting the industry and the authors that you love and respect, supporting your community, supporting your local economy, and supporting services for people who can't go and buy any of their books new. And I think that that's a really responsible way to balance out your reading and your book buying. And obviously at the same time it lets you save some money, and it lets you read a wider range of books. If you end up browsing libraries and secondhand stores as well as the big box bookstores, for me, it's kind of like listening to the radio. I don't feel guilty about listening to music for free on the radio, because I know that if I really love an artist or a group, then I know that I can support them, because when I've heard it and I go, oh, I really like that, then I can buy the album and buy the merchandise and go to the show. And I feel very similarly for authors. I will pick it up for free or for cheap, and then if I really, really love what they're doing, then I will want to buy the box set or the hardcover or the special edition or the book signed edition, and then I will have it on my bookcase and I will be supporting them. So I hope that maybe this has made you think about going to the thrift store or to the library more, maybe about balancing how you buy books to make sure that your hard-earned cash goes to the places that you really want it to go to, and that your support is only given to those people and those things that you really, really want to support. Last thing that I do want to add to this is that there are obviously other ways to get books for free, but it's not just about getting the most reading for the least money. I have nothing but bad things to say about illegally downloading books. Obviously, that's completely unacceptable. That literally no one benefits from that except for your own selfish self if you are the person that does that. And it doesn't benefit the author or store owner or anyone else. You're not doing any good in the world when you do that. Please do not take this video or the title of it as any kind of excuse to think that that is okay. It is not. It sucks. Don't do it. There are a few websites where you can legally download some books, usually some of the classics or ones that are put up by the author for periods of time, like the free ebook sales, and that's an awesome way to do it too, but it's a little bit of a different scenario to this, and I think that maybe I may do another video on some of those websites at a later date if you are interested. But all that is to come. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that we can have a little discussion about it, and I will see you at the library. Bye.